Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you will receive alerts when there are new episodes. Go get it.
This is what I tell them. I've been grinding for so long, I wake up and chase my goals. I go out and I go get it. Hot or cold, that's all I know. I don't succeed, then I don't breathe. Success, what does it mean? If I conquer all my goals, then I'm living out my dream. Dig deep, go out and get it. Success Chronicles. Compete until it's finished. Success Chronicles. Go take care of your business. Success Chronicles. It's deeper than just winning. Success Chronicles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chip Baker coming to you with the topic session with my good friend, Lauren Ammon. And today we are going to hit consistency, the other big C word. So you can kind of hit on, we've done 2 other C words. We're doing the 3 C's. Talk to us about that process, Lauren, and then we'll dive into consistency.
Yeah, the concept of 3 C's kind of came out as I was working through this whole framework and putting, all of my experiences together for athletes and translating all that stuff. And one day I was hit all that stuff, right? The powerful experiences I've been through. But one day I was really hit with the 3 C's. First and foremost, courage. The courage to, when it comes to performance, either whether it be shifting your mindset around something, the courage to step up and try a new skill, the courage to try out for a team, the courage really just to show up in any part of the performance equation, regardless if it is an athlete or something completely different. I mean, performance is performance, right? Regardless of the context. But in mine is working with athletes, the courage to want to do something different, to be something different, and to find that motivation within yourself to step up and do it. The second C is the commitment, right? So there's kind of that 2-step process of I found the courage, I found the motivation, I found the inspiration. Now I'm making the conscious commitment to following through, right? And taking that first action. Because one of the things that not only I've experienced in my own life, but watching other athletes, whether it was when I was still an athlete or in my line of work now, of really taking that conscious step and saying, this is what I'm doing. And then that third step, and in my opinion, probably the most important, because it includes the first 2 as well, is that idea of consistency, of continuing to show up. Again, particularly in the concept of sports, where every day for an entire season, and that season can be 12 weeks, that season can be 9 months, right? Showing up every single day, and particularly in those moments when it's really hard, or you don't want to, or there's fear behind it. And then again, channeling that original courage to step up and want to do something different, and the commitment to make the action. And now we're just now getting into the flow, we're getting into the process, and it's going to be something we're going to do every single day.
Lauren, you said every day.
Yeah. Because part of that too is, even if you don't have practice in a day, right? When you think in the context of athletes, even if we don't have practice, there's that consistency of almost showing up for you, showing up in terms of recovery, doing what you need to do outside of the field in order to keep yourself on that cycle. Because even when there's a break, there can be that break in consistency, and then you kind of lose a little bit of that motivation, right? And so it is an intentional practice every single day, even if you're not on the field.
I love it. I think, for me, there are some points that hit home for me with consistency. I love the breakdown of how you got to the consistency. And I do believe, I agree with you how you said the consistency is made up of the other 2 C's, right? So I think the first thing when you're looking at consistency, it's just doing those little things the right way every moment of each day. I think what that does is it allows you to build trust, right? The magic T word. And from there, And there's two types of trust, right? I think first off, people around you see that you are consistent, and that builds trust with them, and they know that they can depend on you. And that's great for a team, team concept, team sports, relationships. Pick something. Everything's a team, right? And it's great for that. But the bigger trust that it builds is that it builds self-trust, because you show yourself that you're capable of doing great things because you were consistent. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's the first point that I have from there. And I think that consistency allows you to be aware and be in the moment. All right. And what I mean by that is, if I'm striving to be consistent and I know that where I'm striving to get down the road, it allows me to be intentional about my time right now. Right. It allows me to be on point and intentional about my time right now, because I know where I'm striving to get to. And then, for me, and make sure that all of those moments that you're on point, and it gives you magic moments, right? And those magic moments bring memories. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's, for me, when you look at consistency, that's the thoughts that I have around that.
Yeah. Your concept of trust is absolutely on point and so important. And that concept of the self-trust, because it's really easy, especially in those really tough moments when you're like, oh God, I just don't want to today, or oh, it's so hard. And then you can make it easy to break that promise to yourself. And then, you can start to go down that rabbit hole of, oh, I should have gone today, or I should have done this, or, then you kind of have that back and forth of when you're being so down on yourself, right? And those negative thoughts start to swirl. And really that's what, so poignant that you hit on that, of that self-trust, of being able to believe in yourself, that you will show up. And then, as you said, that then can bleed into others, where like they see that you're showing up, you're reliable,
yes,
but also at the same time that you're a point of inspiration, right? Because no doubt that your teammates are going through some of those same tough thoughts of, oh, not today. But then you arrive as this kind of, and on a team, it kind of happens among everyone, right? Everyone arrives as these unspoken inspirations, because your teammate is going to be there. You can rely on your teammate, thus making it easier to rely on yourself to say, I'm going to be there today.
Yes.
And that really powerful word of intention, of really putting intention behind showing up, because it's not just about showing up and going through the motions, right? Sometimes that can happen with you. Some days it just isn't your day. And there are days when you're like, I can't give 100%. So I'm just kind of going to give as much as I possibly can. And maybe it is a little bit of a going through the motions day, but consistency really is backed by intention.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah.
Like you're physically there. You may be giving, you may not have 100% in the tank to give, but if you have 85, you're giving that 85 and you're present.
Yes. Yes. And that really is the power of consistency. I actually have, when I was an athlete, it was really easy to show up, right? Because I was so in love with the sport. I loved showing up. Consistency was my favorite thing, right? And it was a space where I felt so alive. I felt so myself. There was very rarely a question of showing up, right? But when I moved into my non-athletic space, and this world was so different, and while I understood and valued the concept of consistency, it became more challenging to be consistent, because I was really uncomfortable. And I was in these spaces that, while I love to be challenged, were these challenges that were like, I don't know if I can actually do this. And so I actually put a Post-it note on my computer screen that I see every day that simply says, just keep showing up. Mm. Three simple words. or 4, right? Keep showing up, or 3. And it's a jolt of act, create some forward movement for yourself, remain consistent to your discipline of figuring out what it is that you're working on right now, even if you absolutely have no idea what to do. And showing up could mean, hey, call a friend, get a conversation started just to jolt some inspiration. Keep showing up could be journal for a hot minute about what's going on in your mind, process that, and then take another small action. I found in my non-athletic life, taking really small, consistent actions is what keeps me on the path.
Yes. And I agree with you. That's anything. You can apply that to things that you love and things that you don't love, because it allows you to be present and in the moment. And so if you do just a little something each day, like you're going to eventually, like you're going to have progress each day.
Right.
A little something each day is better than nothing some days, And I was just thinking about, and I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I have a SHG principle. Have I shared that with you?
No, I don't think so.
And so just like you said with your sticky note, this is my way of being intentional and being consistent in my life. And so for me, the S is show up. We talked about that, like show up, be early because on time is late. And when you're there, be in the moment, be intentional about what you're doing at the moment. So show up is the first thing. The H is have a great attitude. And for me, gratitude is the attitude that determines our altitude. Come on, Lauren, let's go.
That is awesome.
We have to be grateful for what we have and focus on what we do have, and don't focus on what we don't have, and then the G is just give your all. And you kind of talked about that. It may not be 100% in the tank, but if I have 85 or 90% and I give that, I will still get better. And so when you look at that, if I just strive to show up, have a great attitude, give my all today, that's a pretty good day for me. Right. Then I reflect in the evening, and then boom, I hit the ground running tomorrow and doing the same thing. Another pretty good day. And what happens is if I do that for a week, it's a pretty good week. Continue to do that for a month, it's a pretty good month. Years. And what'll happen is when I get to go visit the big man, I will have not just left a legacy, but it will have allowed me to live a legacy by my day-to-day action and have that consistency in my life, and people know what they are going to get from me every moment of every day.
Yeah. You hit on something that actually I was talking about with someone today, in this concept of finding that rhythm and getting in a routine of what you just talked about, right? If I do it every day, I'm going to be better every day. If I do it every week, I'm going to be better every week, month, year, right? In this concept of consistent, or specifically among athletes, we were talking about the concept of meditation. And sometimes meditation can be a turnoff for athletes because it's a slower paced kind of action, right? You don't necessarily see that immediate reward, but it isn't, what we were discussing was, it's not just about calming your mind. It's literally about reprogramming your mind to grow and develop in a way that wouldn't happen had you not given it that space. Yes. And we were talking about how, it's not necessarily just a 30-day thing, and something as intentional as meditation, it can be 90 days, it can be 120 days. But once you get to that point of growth, your mind is literally on like a whole new playing field, right? You've created a whole new map for your mind to work through that didn't exist. And it's that idea of keeping it consistent and being intentional versus throwing in the towel and saying, oh, I'm not seeing any growth today, I'm just going to give up, right? It's one of those very intentional things, and really starting to create the awareness within the athletic community of going 110% doesn't always have to be the avenue for growth. It can be those small, consistent, intentional actions that create growth well beyond what you ever could have imagined if you just stayed the consistent path.
Just stay the course.
Right. Because it's really easy to be like, I'm done. This isn't working. So
yes.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's the easy thing, is to quit.
Yes.
Like it's like you can quit all day long, right? Like, you think, oh man, this is tough. Man, that water is cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not getting there.
Man, I'm not getting in that. Yes, you are. Let's go get it. Yes, I am. Man, those weights hurt.
Yes.
Right. But I'm about to get on it. I'm going to go attack it. Right. I'm going to show up. I already put my clothes on. I'm here at the gym. I might as well live.
Yes.
I might as well get some work.
Yeah. And what you were talking about before, right? That concept of self-trust is that we unknowingly can get into a consistent habit of quitting and not necessarily really realizing it.
Right. Yes.
And then breaking that self-trust and then figuring out why the heck we feel so down or not as fulfilled. It's because we unconsciously broke a promise to ourselves.
That's so good. And I would hear this. I've heard this before as a younger athlete. Quitting becomes a habit, right? So if you quit one thing, you'll make it easy to quit other things, and you'll continue to do that, like you said, in your life. And before you know it, you're quitting on lots, and you've let yourself down. And then even fast forward in my, more of adult and career, I've heard that. I don't know. I just think that like it relates, right? So like you said, when you break it into small chunks, then it's not as overwhelming. And when you look at it as, hey, I'm like, I don't know about later. What I do know about is right now. And I'm going to give everything I have to what I'm doing right now. And when you do that, I think that likens to the meditation, like you were saying, like it allows you to be in the moment in these small spaces, in the moment in these, and then you train your brain, heart, mind, body. You train all of those things to prepare for adversity.
Right. Yeah. You create, in something like a meditation, you actually create new pathways for your brain to process the challenges that you're faced with. And you actually look at them in a very different way.
Yeah.
And maybe not as intensely as you once did, because you were so intentional and consistent with your brain, even if it didn't feel like you were giving 110% that day or really working for it. Because you really are. Your brain is can be, you'll notice a difference after a while. Your brain will be like, right in the beginning, and then learn how to focus in a different way. And then again, create completely different pathways for you to process and look at life. Being present, more intentional.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because you're an elite level, athlete, elite level coach, and things that you do, it's elite, right? And I pretty much, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Do you thrive on consistency?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Explain that to me.
Yeah. Well, I was actually just thinking about this. So I love how the universe, it brings this together. I was actually just thinking about this, right? I swam for 17 years. And at the height of my career, it was my schedule was wake up, swim, school, eat, or wake up, swim, eat, swim, school, sleep, and start over, right? I was conditioned to this. This was my world. And where I've struggled in my adult life, being completely open, is finding that consistency, right? I've started to address this, or I've started to adopt this phrase, less but better. So in my adult life, I'm trying to cram everything in, and finding that consistency for myself Whereas in my former life, it was school and swimming were my priorities, right? I didn't have to think about anything else besides kind of the traditional eating and sleeping and taking care of myself. But in my adult life, it's parenting, relationships, work, my own fitness, my own self-care, right? And it's all these things. And I've struggled to find the consistency for myself. And it's all what sometimes it feels like it's just all over the place. And so really adopting that concept of less but better in order to create more consistency and say, these are the 5 things I'm focusing on every single day. And here's what I'm going to get accomplished in them. And really starting to build that routine and that anticipation of what I want to work on, but knowing that it can be different every day, not boxing myself into a very tight routine, but just saying, here are the things I'm going to be consistent on, and I'm going to give it as much as I possibly can every day.
I love that. I love the way you broke that down, because it was the same way in my life, with sports and everything as well. And same thing, as you grow, family, all of those other things. Well, the main priority is not myself. Like, I have to make sure that I'm good so I can take care of others. So how do I, get a routine and have consistency and do all of those things? And I think I was speaking to a group last week, and they just got a new head coach. And so like the group, great group of kids, football team. They've gone deep in the playoffs for the last couple of years. I mean, really good, great program. The head coach is a great guy. He's one of my former players, but he got a new job at a different place. And so the guys that were there, which is the defensive coordinator, he just asked me to come and just say some words to the kids, to kind of help them kind of get through it, right? And I thought about the routine and the consistency. Like, that's something that they're used to. And I'll share this with you because I heard this and I think you'll like this. I heard this story before about, this guy was going whitewater rafting, right? And so, he had, never been, but, he was saying, like, we were set up with a guide, and the guide tells us, okay, this is this. You had to have your, life jackets on for safety. And, you're going to sit here, you're going to have this, but, along this journey, and here's where the consistency piece comes in, right? Along this journey, you're going to have some ups and downs, and you're going to feel like you may flip over, and you're going to get some water in on you. It's going to be some dips and all of those things, which is, the things we were talking about, life, how things change.
Yeah.
Right? But along that, you don't have to reach or shift or do any of that. Just hunker down and stay tight to your core. And what that means to me, what that meant to me was just hang tight to your core common principles, right? When you do that, you don't have to reach out and shift and change. Just hang on to what you believe in. Like, work hard, show up, treat people right, do things the right way. And when you do that, regardless of the storms or tide or whatever that comes at you, you're going to be okay. And for me, I think that helps with consistency because, the one thing that's inevitable in our life is change. I mean, like, you're going to have change in your life. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to consistently have change in your life.
Exactly.
Right? How about that? But what you have to do is hold on, tight to those, your core common principles, what you believe in, and still be consistent with that along that journey, but learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn in that, right? It can be a fun ride on that raft, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure I share that one with you because I thought that one was pretty good.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. And it ties back to one of the biggest principles that I have is that, and that's what I work with athletes on, is really defining their values and what living to them and what living a good life really means. Because we as humans, we develop all of these core principles and values, belief systems, they're all kind of in that same realm, right? But sometimes they can be very unconscious, right? We can name them and we know when they're there, but we also know when they're not. And so taking really intentional, we'll go back to that great word, taking really intentional time to figure out what they are actually supports you exactly what you said, of being more consistent. That way you can live more consistent to who you are, but then create more consistency in your life because of those core beliefs and values. You know, I always say mine are humor, accountability, health, authenticity, and high energy. Those are my top 5 values. And what I've learned to do that I wasn't so great at before, I said, those are my 5, right? I would say yes to everything. Because it's just in my nature, right? Like, I love a new challenge. So let's just try it. Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But then when I felt it was wildly challenging to be consistent in things because I was just saying yes to all these things. But then I also wasn't being consistent to myself. I wasn't honoring the things that are most important to me. I was just saying, yeah, sure, everything's important to me. And then I felt so incredibly stressed and out of alignment. And it was so challenging to find a schedule because it was like, yeah, I'll go over here and then here and then here and here. Because I said yes to literally every opportunity that came my way.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of my biggest, darkest days came, is when I was so out of alignment with who I was. I completely lost being consistently me. And so I love that idea of just staying tight to your core, and you don't have to go reaching over here. I mean, it might be enticing, it might be interesting, but then aligning it to your, you know, your 3, your 4, your 5 things that are really important to you and saying, hey, is this going to allow me to stay close to my core, or am I reaching for something that I think should be a part of my life, or that I think people want me to do, or that I think I want to do?
Yeah, I think too, with that consistency, I think it's a learned process too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you really explained, you know, going from, you know, the sport. This is what I did every day. I knew that. Okay, bringing other things in. Okay, as I'm shifting, kind of reaching out for everything, just to kind of see where it all fits. Then I get to where, oh, well, this doesn't make me happy because I'm reaching, right? I'm searching, and I really don't have to search. Like, I know what I like. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know what I like in life. And so then you get to a place to where, okay, you prioritize and you balance, and like where we are in our lives, I don't do anything outside of what I've prioritized, right? And I don't waste time. I'm disciplined. I'm really strict about the self-discipline on that. I don't do anything because it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so that gives you that consistency. It gives me that consistency, which builds that trust within me to know that, oh, I can do this. And like you said, you do have to say no to some things, because saying no to things that are not important to you gives you the ability to say yes to things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you get to where you smile when I said that, because you feel that, right?
Yes. Yes.
you feel that. And it gives you a sense of pride too, because you said no. And I'll just tell you, man, like I've had a couple instances where, like, I've had like a couple big name interviews lined up, and, you know, I had to shift and reschedule or not do it because I needed to take care of a family thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or I had like a church event,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had to say, well, I got church. I had to prioritize to myself, and like church is probably important to me than anything. Right. And so I need to be there, or, you know, my son has this, and I'm scheduled to interview one of the hottest rappers in the area, you know, like, hey, I got to go do this thing with my son, you know. And so, and I'm proud of that I've been disciplined enough to do that. And it gives me that consistency, to know that I am strong enough to do that whenever I need to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that discipline came from your athletic background too, of saying, hey, this is what's important and this is where I'm staying. This is the lane I'm staying in. And yeah, that's a really powerful lesson to learn in athletics. And then, being very, we'll use it again, intentional about translating that to your non-athletic life.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lauren, man, this was good. I think this whole consistency thing, I think we can talk on this for a while, but I'm going to value your time and not hold you long because, man, we could get deep on this one. There's layers to this one.
Yes, there is.
But before we get off, if you don't mind sharing with the audience so they can go follow you and check you out and show you some love with all of the amazing things you have going on.
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Lauren Ammon. You can find me on Instagram at Mrs. Lauren Ammon. And then, of course, on my website, laurenammon.com.
Awesome. Well, again, Lauren, thanks so much for taking the time to do the topic sessions with me, the 3 C's. And this has been fun. I hope, guys, those of you that's checking this out, I hope that you've been able to gain some valuable insight that will help you, that you can apply in your life. And so, Lauren, again, thank you so much. And audience, thank you for checking out this topic session. We'll see you next time. God bless. Go get it.